You know, we've had and we have some more to come, really impressive resumes and bios, but I'm going to call this next one humble efficiency, right? Or he's just scared to give you too much information because he doesn't want you to have his personal information. Jorge comes to us today from OSHA. He has a BS in construction engineering, MS in occupational safety management, certified safety professional, 20 years of environmental safety health roles, and 12 years with OSHA. So please welcome Jorge Gomez to the stage.
Thank you. So yes, my name is Jorge Gomez. I'm the Compliance Assistant Specialist with the Houston South Area Office, which is not too far away from here, actually, maybe 2-3 miles away from here. Hopefully you're not familiar with our location, because if you are, chances are you weren't there to just say hi. So I'm here to give you more of an OSHA update. I know on the agenda when I was being asked, what's the name of your presentation going to be? I went with Introduction to OSHA because I was hoping that many of you that I knew would be here would look then and say, well, I don't really need an introduction to OSHA. A lot of you are very sophisticated with your safety programs. I know that personally because a lot of you in here are part of the OSHA's VPP program. So stand up if you're part of OSHA's VPP program. Come on, Lyondell. Come on, Oxy. Come on, Exxon, Chevron. Right? So yeah, definitely give these guys a round of applause because they are leaders in safety. And I can say that because I have seen their safety programs. I have been into their operations to personally see that and verify that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. That's what being part of OSHA's VPP program is about. So those of you that aren't part of the program, but sometimes driving around, you see VPP and a star painted on a storage tank or a flag flying. A lot goes into obtaining that recognition. So for my VPP sites, which I also manage for our office, thank you for being part of the program and all the work that you put in towards that. So the introduction is really more to me. OSHA, I know a lot of you know what OSHA is about. So really I'm going to give you more of an OSHA update. If I can figure this out. Working, not working? There we go. Disclaimer. Wouldn't be a government presentation without a disclaimer, right? The information that I'm going to present to you that basically says is that I gather this information. None of it comes, well, all of it comes directly from OSHA, right? But from public sources. We have no secrets. A lot of apprehension I feel in industry towards OSHA is that industry feels that how does OSHA work? They're so sneaky. Everything we do and how we do it is on our website, our publicly domain website, osha.gov. All our directives for how our guys are supposed to go out and do their inspections. Our field operations manual is posted online for everyone to see. And you should go and become familiar with these documents because if you're worried about heat inspections, we have the directive that tells our guys exactly how to go out in the field and do those inspections, what to look for, what questions to ask. So in formulating your safety program, your safety programs, go look up our directives and make sure that you're covering all the points that we're going to come in and check for. All right, this is what some of the information that I'm going to cover for you guys today. I'm going to give you a local office overview, cover some statistics on really why OSHA does what we do and why we came into existence. Fatality snapshot, serious incidents, we're going to hear about that, the regulatory agenda. If you don't know about the regulatory agenda, you need to also become familiar with that, be part of the process. Don't wait until we're looking to put out a regulation and then sue us. Which, no offense, is part of the process, and by all means, exercise every avenue that you have. But a lot of the concerns that are brought from these lawsuits could have possibly been addressed during the regulatory process, where companies, individuals have an opportunity to come to the table and present whatever concerns they may have. If nothing else, it might save industry a lot of legal fees. I don't mind putting lawyers out of business. So our local offices, we have two offices, Houston South in the blue, Houston North in the red. Houston North is up in Conroe. The area director up there is Mr. Makiba Hager. A lot of you may be familiar with him because for 12, 13 years, he was the PSM supervisor in the Houston South area office. A lot of you are PSM sites or covered by PSM. He now runs the Houston North office. Jim Shelton is the compliance assistant specialist for the Houston North area office. You may also know him. Hopefully you know one of us because we're your resource. In the South, we have Larissa Ibsen. She just took over for Mr. Mark Briggs. If you recognize the name, Mr. Mark Briggs, if you didn't know, he retired at the end of December, and now Larissa Ibsen runs our office, and I'm your compliance assistant specialist. And I say yours because, yes, OSHA pays me, but I'm here to work for you. So if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, I'm the guy with an OSHA that you can call without being afraid that then we're going to show up to do an inspection at your site. Of the 12 years that I've been with OSHA, 8 years I spent out in the field being that guy that would show up to do those inspections, investigations. 5 years ago, I transferred into this role. Everyone in my role comes from the field, so we bring that experience to the table for you guys. But now, I get paid from a different pot of money, which means that it's not the enforcement pot of money. So I can't legally get involved with any enforcement activity. That's done on purpose so that industry feels comfortable about coming to people like me and asking for help, asking those questions, right? Again, we're your resource. Your tax dollars at work, make me work for them. OSHA is divided into 10 regions. We are Region 6, down towards the bottom. We are the busiest region. This is what we do out of our area offices. And this is where a little bit of that introduction to OSHA really comes in for you guys because, again, I know most of you, if not all of you, are very familiar with OSHA, hopefully not from the enforcement side. But OSHA is not solely an enforcement agency, yes. Our main purpose is to go out there and enforce the CFR, 29 CFR, the laws that are found in those regulations because they're law. But we offer compliance assistance. That's my job. We do outreach. We do training. We help with training. Every year, we give out anywhere from over $10 to $20 million to nonprofits to create training. And we put out a list of topics. We get applications for that money. They develop the training. And the stipulation behind that is that then they have to make it available to industry, to the community for free. So there's a lot of resources out there. Yes, we do penalty collection. I wanted to include this because, well, that's the negative connotation with OSHA, right? That if we show up on the enforcement side, if we find problems, it's not going to be a free trip, right? There's going to be penalties associated with that. And this is really sensitive. But the money those penalties that we issue is not a motivator for us because we don't keep any of that money. Yes, we receive the checks, we stamp them, and then we send them to the Treasury. We're not funded by any money that we collect. That is not our motivation. Our motivation is keeping people safe out there because there is a lot of people getting hurt. There's a lot of people dying, as I'm going to show you some of the numbers. But on an average year, this is what each of our offices do. Depending on our staffing levels and what may be going on, we each do about 600, a little bit over 600 inspections a year. In the latest fiscal year, we issued, in the South, 712 serious violations, 144 of the serious, 40 repeat, 6 willful, and 2 failures to abate. That's normally what we do each year, and we issued $6.9 million in penalties. That doesn't mean that's what we collect. Because if you've been involved in any kind of enforcement activity, you know that we're going to try to negotiate with you. And some of the ways that we can negotiate with you is we'll do penalty reductions, we'll change classifications on citations, so on and so forth. Hopefully, you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, and you'll never be familiar. But just be aware that we do that. But penalties are expensive. Right now, a serious violation is $16,600. A repeat violation is $16,000 times 5, up to 10. A willful violation is that $16,000 times 10, which is the $161,000. It's actually $16,131. That's how much a serious violation is right now. Failure to abate. That's big red right there because that's what you really don't want to get into, a failure to abate. A failure to abate violation is when we've issued a citation, we've come to an agreement on what you're going to do to correct the problem. We go back and we double check that you actually met the requirements of what we agreed upon, and we find that you don't. There we can fine you those $16,131 per day, and we can backdate it. So that can get really expensive. Our office here in the South holds the record for the highest penalty ever issued. That was to BP as a result of the 2005 explosions and the ensuing investigations in 2009. It's about $87 million, and it's that high because those failure to abates. We went back to do the reinspection, and a lot of the things that they said that they were going to fix, they hadn't. So failure to abate. You come to an agreement with us, do it. On a national level, this is where we see the most problems. This is the top 10 most cited safety violations that we see out there. Fall protection. Fall protection has been number one for a long time. I don't see it coming out of the number one spot. Just locally, I was running our statistic numbers for another place that I was at earlier today, and so far, our fiscal year started March 1st of last year, and to this date, we received 72 reports of fatalities between both our offices. In construction, it's only been 14, only, right? Then when you go through them, a lot of those fatalities that we receive is what we classify as a natural cause death. Somebody had a heart attack, some sort of medical condition that led to that death, which there's really nothing natural about these deaths, because when you have 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds that are getting seizures, that are getting heart attacks, that are getting strokes, that's not natural. But that's how we classify it, just because the medical examiner, that's how they code it. But of those 14 fatalities in construction that we've had this fiscal year so far, 9 we've classified as a natural cause death. What's remaining of the 5 that are remaining, 4 were falls and 1 struck by. So is falls going to continue being number one? Yes, because locally here, we're just a mirror of what happens nationally. Locally, this is the top 10. All the red ones tie back to a national one. So 7 of those tie back to a national top 10. It's the same problems. Again, we're a mirror of what happens nationally, just because we're so big and we have so much activity that whatever is happening here is a reflection of the entire country. Nationally, the latest numbers that we have from BLS that came out in the 3rd week of December 2023 that addressed 2022, we lost 5,486 workers in the entire nation that year. 578 just here in Texas. California, our nemesis, took the number 2 spot, which, by the way, we took that number 1 spot from California 14 years ago. For a number of years, maybe 4 or 5 years, we would go back and forth. We'd lose more people, they lose more people, we lose more people, they lose more people. But 14 years ago, we took that number 1 spot and we ran with it. We need to give it back. That's why coming to these events, supporting these type of events is important to OSHA, because it's not us that really is creating the change out there. It's companies like you, companies that take the time to participate in our VPP program, that are really committed to safety. Those 600 inspections that our office does, or 1,200 between both our offices, what is that in the grand scheme of things? The 35,000 inspections that we do on a national level, what is that in the grand scheme of things when we have over 130 million workers out there exposed to hazards? Industry is really the one creating the difference. So thank you for that. But we really need to stay on top of it and keep moving forward with our safety systems, the way we approach training, the way we approach hiring, because, again, the change comes from you, not from us. A lot of times we just play that role of the boogeyman that's sitting out there in the dark that's going to come get you if you don't do what's right? And unfortunately, somebody said human nature, sometimes that's needed to make sure that we're motivated to do the right thing. I'll talk about it a little bit more later. So fatalities, just here locally, last fiscal year, we lost 55 people. Where's that, Sorry, I guess I need my eyeglasses. Because I know in my mind, I know it's 55, but I see 56 there. Yeah, 56. And these numbers a lot of times go up and down even after we publish them, just because medical examiner reports come in, something changes, and we reclassify things. But on average, we lose between 45 and 55 people. By this, at least once a week, one of our offices was getting a call saying somebody's dead, come out. Well, not come out, just somebody's dead. But we're going to come out. Within 8 hours, a fatality needs to be reported to us. Not business hours, 8 hours. The fatalities in construction, we can attribute it really to what we call the fatal four if you're old school like me, or focus four if you're newer into safety. And that's 4 hazards that account for about 80% of all fatalities in construction. Falls, electrical, caught in between. If we could just get rid of those 4 things. Heck, if we could just get rid of falls. Falls should be one of the easiest hazards for everyone to identify and mitigate, right? I mean, I know that if I go too far that way without any railing here, you know, I may fall. We might not need railing here because this is below 4 feet. At 4 feet is when we start to need to provide fall protection, right? In general industry. In construction, it's 6 feet, or 10 feet if you're working from a scaffold, or up to 15 feet if you're doing steel erection. So that's where, again, we need those safety professionals that know what's going on out there, right? But again, falls, number one. In the general industry, it's struck-bys. But really, you can still attribute most fatalities in general industry also to those 4 things that you can as in construction. It's just that in general industry, struck-bys and caught between equipment is where the biggest problems come in. Lotto is where a lot of those caught-betweens come into place. SIRs, serious incident reports. That's when somebody is hurt on the job and they need to be hospitalized for treatment, not just observation, but for treatment. That needs to be reported to us within 24 hours. 24 hours, not business hours, 24 hours. If there's an amputation, it doesn't matter how severe or little. I've gone out to do amputation investigation, incident investigations, because somebody lost the fingerprint portion of their finger. Doesn't matter how big or small, needs to be reported to us within 24 hours. Loss of an eye needs to be reported to us within 24 hours. 452. On average, that's about how many incident reports we receive each year, just our 2 offices. 450 to 500 every year. So on top of our office getting called saying somebody's dead 4 to 6 times a week, sometimes more, sometimes less, we're also getting calls saying, hey, somebody's in the hospital seriously hurt, somebody lost an arm, somebody lost a leg, somebody lost an eye. General industry, this is where we get most of the injuries from. Struck-bys, again, caught in between. That maintenance, lotto, not being applied properly, not respected, things suddenly, equipment, machinery, pumps suddenly starting when they're not supposed to, and it catches people. In construction, struck by and falls. Same things. It's the same things. General industry, construction. If we could get rid of just 4 hazards, you ask me, even outside of my safety professional roles or duties, falls, electrical. Those focus 4 should be some of the easiest hazards for anybody to recognize and make sure that they're protected against. But man, we just can't seem to do it. We formed an alliance with the AGC, ABC, ASA. The HASC is now going to be part of it. We're going to hold an event in April 26th, a free event about safety, about falls. An alliance, the Houston Fall Prevention Alliance. That's what we called it. Because we really need to, man, if we could just get rid of falls, 4 people alone this year would still be alive. 4 doesn't sound like a huge number, but if you're one of those 4 families, that means the entire universe, right? So the regulatory agenda, again, we OSHA don't have, a group of trolls somewhere deep in a DC basement coming up with what kind of regulation can we impose on industry now, right? No, it's a process. Industry is a huge part of that process. All of our regulations, most of our regulations, come from industry. Back in the early 70s when we came to be, Congress said, hey, you have 2 hours to come up, 2 years to come up with what's going to be the safety law. How did we do that? They said, go out and get all the industry consensus standards, ANSI, NFPA, and make them law. Really, that's what we're working off. The safety standards from the 1970s. VPP sites, again, kudos, because I know that you guys do better and strive to do better and show us that you do better. But right now, we have a pretty busy regulatory agenda. Go and check it out, because we have five rules in pre-rule. One of them is heat, and there's a lot of controversy going on that can go on with heat. I don't care about global warming or not. Bottom line is hot, and our bodies can't take it. And if you think that OSHA trying to come up with a rule on heat is also something new, well, it's not. Because back in 1971, 72, NIOSH, which was also created by the OSHA Act, came up with a set of standards for what a heat rule should look like. And the way the process was supposed to work is that NIOSH was created by the OSHA Act so that they could be our research arm, right? They would do research and propose new safety regulations, then OSHA would try to make them law. In 1972, we tried to come out with a heat rule. One of the first things, OSHA was only a year old at that point. We couldn't do it. We're still trying. So if you think that us trying to come up with a rule for this is new, it's not. It's just like the whole silica thing, right? That was the big buzzword just a few years ago, because we were coming up with new regulations for that, because we know silica causes cancer, just like asbestos. Well, we've known that since the 30s, 40s. It's nothing that we're really trying to come up with is new. But you need to be aware of it. You need to participate in the process, because you should have something to say about the way the final regulation may be written or proposed. The way you do that is by being aware of a regulatory agenda. It gets published twice a year, in the spring and fall. Sometimes just in the spring, sometimes just in the fall. But this is all that's on there. HASCOM. Record keeping is more dealing with the electronic reporting, which was due back March 2nd. Hopefully you all did it if you still needed to file. And if not, still hurry up and go do it, because there will be a list coming out saying, hey, according to our records, all these companies that fall within these NIACs should have reported and we didn't receive one. Go check them out. HASCOM, the changes there is just we're just aligning with the current volume of GHS. When we align HASCOM with the UN's GHS program, Global Harmonization System, they were working on, at that time it was volume 3, and now we're in 7, so we're just working to come up to the newer volume standards, which might have some changes or require changes at your site, so please be aware of it. NEPs, National Emphasis Programs. This is where OSHA identifies certain hazards within industries and say, we need to target those hazards specifically. Falls, we have a National Emphasis Program for falls that, again, go to our website and pull that NEP, because that's the instruction that tells our offices what we're supposed to go out and do, how we're supposed to schedule those inspections, how many of those inspections we're supposed to schedule. Heat. Again, it tells our guys what to look for in a company's heat management program. Amputations, hexchrome, lead, PSM, trenching excavation. In total, there's 13 NEPs out there. Please go get them, go look at them. OSHA's a resource, VPP. Again, kudos to those guys flying those flags that wear those patches on their uniforms. They are different than other sites. If nothing else, just because they have the courage to stand up and say, hey, I think that my safety program is really good. Come check it out, OSHA. And it's not just me that shows up to do these evaluations. It's me with a group of your own industry peers that can then share best practices with you. We have what's called the SGE program, Special Government Employee Program, that when a site becomes VPP, their employees become eligible to participate in this program. They go through some about a week worth of training. They go in there, they swear an oath, just like I did, and they participate as special government employees going to VPP sites and evaluating the safety programs. And the whole purpose behind that is to check that you're doing what you say you're doing, for one, but also provide you feedback on where you may have some gaps, where you can improve. Those flags don't come cheap. Just ask Scott over there. We really try to do a good job and put these sites through the ringer because it means something to fly that flag. And because we want to make those sites better, right? We want to make sure that those sites continue being the leaders in safety. And it wouldn't be good for OSHA to be associated with a site flying a flag and they keep on having incidents, right? So, but VPP, this might sound like recruiting, but it's not. I'm not out there saying, hey, I think you should be VPP. Hey, I think you should be VPP. No, that's something that companies their own have to come to an agreement and understanding on their own that they want to be part of that program and then pursue it. Susan Harwood Training Grants. Again, that is the program that gives out those millions of dollars every year to those nonprofits to develop training. There's a lot of presentations out there. There's a lot of cool tips and videos that get produced by that money that's awarded. And it's all on our website, free. Whatever topic you can think of regarding a hazard, if you're looking for a presentation on it, you can go to our Susan Harwood training grant page, and somebody has developed it in more than one language sometimes. The most common languages out there is English and Spanish, but we also have some Polish. We have a few other languages out there. Free publications. Those It's the Law posters. It's actually a regulation that you have to post it, that you have to have that visible to employees. If we show up when we can't find that, that's actually a violation. We could issue a fine over that. So I guess that's why it's the law. But hey, if you need one, get a hold of me. I'll give you one or a few for free. Or you can just download it, right? Everything's electronic now. Free publications. We have tons of publications. A lot of them have gone digital. I do keep some hard copies. If you're looking for hard copies on something, get a hold of me. If I don't have them, I'll reach out to our warehouse, and if it's available, I'll order them for you. Free of charge. National safety campaigns. I just mentioned the National Fall Safety Stand Down. That's going to be the week of May 6th through the 10th. Our event is held on the 26th because we also incorporated with Worker Memorial Observation Day. And we want to, that Alliance event is geared towards safety people to come in, share information, prepare for the following week so that you can hold your own safety stand downs at your site. Other national safety campaigns include heat, trenching excavation, struck bys, safe and sound, lots of them. There's other ways to participate or partner with OSHA other than VPP, and that's the partnership program, and that's the Alliance program. If you want to learn more about those programs, reach out to me. All right, so the outlook, again, is this, that OSHA is not going to make the difference that really matters out there. It's you, it's industry. Because back in 1970, we were losing about 38 workers a day. That translates to about a little bit over 14,000 people a year. But back in my school days, I actually tried to do some research into really what's an accurate number. Because if the government is saying 14,000, and that's what we feel comfortable with saying, the true number is probably higher. So I tried to go out there and do some research, and yeah, I couldn't really come out with a good number. Most of the ranges went from 40 up to 60, 80,000. And why is that? Well, because back before OSHA, there was no requirement to record. There was no requirement to report. So a lot of the fatalities that we have records of before OSHA is because they were in the news, because they were really gruesome, or in a small town that really got captured. But there's a lot out there that we didn't capture, and that's why you see it between 40 and up to 80,000. And if we just split that number and say 50,000 employees or workers a year were dying, man, that's a lot. It was definitely more than 14,000 though. Since OSHA, that's dropped down to about 15 a day in 2022, according to the latest BLS numbers. The difference there has not been OSHA. It has been you that have committed to having good safety programs, to enforcing good safety programs, training programs, so on and so forth. And we need to continue that. Tell us how we can help you. We're going to help you one way or another. We can help you through our incident investigations or inspections when something happens or before something happens and we just happen to show up. But that hurts because there's money attached to that. And it's not a cooperative type of interaction there. It's us with our investigator's hat coming in and we ask and you answer. And you know, sometimes lawyers get involved and we dance a little bit, but the end result's the same a lot of the times. We ask, you answer. The other way that you can get help is through people like me. Every one of our offices has one of me. Here in the local area, you have two, myself and my partner, my colleague, Jim. We're there to help you. We're not gonna turn around and go to our boss and say, oh man, this company just called me and they have this going on. Can't do that. Technically, legally, can't do that. You know, my mom says I'm a very good-looking individual, and I wouldn't do good in jail then. So, not going to risk that. But we're still injuring about 2.8 million people each year. That's outside of the fatalities. You're going to be the difference, not us. How can we help you? You want to do it for free, or you want to do it where it's going to cost you money? But sooner or later, if you're cutting corners, if you don't have good safety programs out there and you're following them, sooner or later you're going to draw the short stick and one of your people is going to get hurt. And then we're going to show up and then it's going to cost you. Even if you beat us in court, it's going to cost you because those lawyers aren't cheap. And with that, I believe that should be it. That's my email. That's my colleague Jim's email. Questions, comments, concerns? Again, any questions?
Thank you, Jorge. Any questions?
Reach out.
Anyone?
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
You talked about 56 fatalities and 452 firearms. Of those, what come from the star site? How many of those come from the star site? Is there a big difference, you know what I'm saying? Are y'all seeing that trend?
I can tell you right off the bat that yes, there's a big difference. You know, somehow I've never really been asked that question, but I can.
How beneficial
Well,
the star site really is?
the average, every time that I go into a star site to do an evaluation or reevaluation, I have to take a look at how far below the national average they fall. Because part of the requirement is that you have to be below that national average, right? And on average, I would feel comfortable saying that every company that I go into and I do that calculation for, they fall 85 to 95% below the national average. That's a lot.
Other benefits of being on star site?
So other benefits is that, again, your employees can become SGEs, and those 13 NEPs don't apply to you. We can't go in and initiate an inspection investigation solely off of one of those NEPs. You get a break from that. Because the way we execute inspections for those NEPs is that the NEP will list in one of the appendices the NAICS codes that we're targeting under that National Emphasis Program. There's a system, it used to be, I want to say the University of Tennessee. I'm not sure who does it now since COVID. But there's a system where they gather all the businesses that fall under those NAICS codes for all of our offices, and then they send those lists to that office. Then we go into the system, we ask for 10 sites, it randomly gives us 10 sites, and that's where we're gonna go do these inspections at for those NEPs. If you're a VPP site, you don't fall in those lists. That doesn't mean that we're not gonna show up if you have an incident or a fatality. We're always gonna show up for that. But if there's a break to be had, I would say that. And a lot of you fall under multiple of those NEPs. Heat, falls, PSM, That's just 3. Hexchrome, lead, all those apply to most of you. So there's a lot of chance for us to show up at your sites. But if you're VPP, then we trust that because we go into your site. Once you get that flag, that doesn't mean that's it. Because I'm going to come back in about 3-4 years and recertify you. And this is ongoing for as long as you have that flag. So we'll give you that break because we know that you're working towards maintaining good safety and health programs because we physically go in there and verify that. Other than that, yeah, there's no benefit. You know, bragging rights, yeah, bragging rights. And because I'm not sure that it's a benefit to have me come in with my group of SGEs and give you guys a hard time for a week. Yes, sir.
What seems like an appropriate day to broach this subject is what can we do to encourage OSHA to set a numerical standard for lightning protection?
If I'm not mistaken, the standard still reads precautions should be taken to prevent workers from being exposed to lightning.
Right.
So no matter what you do, the way it's written out, if you do have a lightning strike, it's going to be a big problem for your company.
Right. Become involved in the regulatory process. So one of the regulations that we're working on right now is workplace violence for healthcare industry. Why? Because the healthcare industry came to us and said, no, OSHA, we need you to tell us exactly how to do it or set more of a standard on what needs to be done to protect our healthcare workers out there.
So I know that they're not a regulatory body, of course, but because of multiple incidents, the NCAA finally put a numerical value out there for outdoor activities.
So stuff like that, and we will look at that actually in the course of our investigations because that's information that's available to our industry, and that's another way that information to use to keep your workers safe, right? So even though it's not a regulation, we could still look at using that and ask the question of why didn't you follow this? But that association should approach OSHA at the national level and say, hey, why aren't you updating your standards to be more aligned with this since we have more updated information now?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Here, Eric.
Most of us have a lot of experience, and I doubt that we've ever heard anybody say, I don't care about safety, let people get hurt. Nobody says that. Some cultures, some organizations have developed a great culture. Everybody pays lip service. Some developed a good culture. What is, in your experience, the secret sauce for leadership to say, if we're serious, this is what we need to do to really rise above where our legacy, where we were, and make this a great safety culture that everybody buys into?
Honesty. We have to be honest with ourselves. Because yes, everybody says, my brother's keeper and safety, safety, safety. But then those management, those foremen allow workers to do things not the way that is stated in their own policy. So we have to be honest first as far as, yes, we say we have a great safety program in writing, but are we actually following it? You have to be honest. And that's where I see the problems come in, where a company says they have great culture, and it is until something happens and it shows all the cracks, right? That really shows that you're not really executing and operating according to what you say. So you just have to be honest with yourselves. One way the VPP sites do it is, well, they host us for a week because, again, these reapprovals, reapprovals, they're not just a one-day thing. We're there for about a week with myself and 4 to 5 of your industry peers from different sites. So we'll have people from Lyondell go to CP Chem. We'll have CP Chem folks visit INEO sites. And I really like that program since I've been dealing with it because, man, you really get good cooperation across industry. And it's a learning experience for everybody. The SGEs going there, we learn something, and we leave something for the site as far as different ways that they can improve their own safety programs that they already have established. But yeah, we have to be honest as far as how we actually operate.
All right, we know you have to catch a plane today, Jorge. Thank you very much. Any questions, feel free to reach out to Jorge. Appreciate it. Have a great day, sir. Thank you.